Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Corner of Food and Fun for the Indiana State Coaches Show. Great to see a packed house here tonight. Good to see so many smiling faces after last week due to travel. And, this guy who's starting off the show knows nothing about travel issues, nothing at all. We'll get into that in just a moment here on the Indiana State Coaches Show. We got a jam-packed show for you here tonight. Starting off will be Chad Killinger, the head coach of Indiana State women's basketball. Clint Williams is going to join us a little bit later, assistant coach, part of Coach Killinger's staff. Looks like he could still play football for Coach Mallory and his size and physicality that he can bring. I know Coach Mallory's been talking to him, I think, every week throughout the football season, Coach Killinger, to try to get him to play.
He doesn't fire off the ball very well.
There you go, Coach Mallory. So maybe you need to stop the recruiting pitch a little bit. And then on the men's side, we'll have head coach Josh Church join us, and Zach Bovair will be the two guests awaiting us on the men's side of the program. But fresh off a win of their MTE multi-team event over the weekend on the road in the state of Georgia is Chad Killinger. Coach, welcome back. I'm just glad you could be here because of all the crazy wackiness, just your travel alone, but I know it's been a lot of events have happened over the last week.
I told the girls we were going to learn a lot about ourselves in the last week, and that's what happened.
No question. And, one of the things that we have talked a lot about here on the show, at least early on in the year with you, has been you've been able to have some leads, late in games.
Yeah.
You've had some chances to close out games. I'm sure that's why the win over Georgia Southern on Saturday was great, because you found a way to close out a game even without some key pieces.
Yeah, and I felt like we played the same game 4 times, and it's just back and forth. Kids do a good job when the other team make a run. I'm not getting their heads down, kind of staying together, making a run to get back in a game, and having a lead. At St. Louis in the fourth quarter. Obviously having the lead against Eastern Illinois at home in the fourth quarter. The Western Kentucky game got away from us a little bit, but they made the third most threes they'd made in their program history in that game. And obviously we contributed to that because we didn't guard very well. But that's a 3-point game with 2 or 3 minutes left in the third quarter. And then Jacksonville State were up 5 with 6 minutes to go. And just came up empty on the offensive end several possessions in a row.
You mentioned coming up empty on the offensive end. What's been maybe the one common theme that you can find in those games that maybe didn't go your way that you will try to tweak and tool with your group as you go throughout practice and try to close out games maybe a little bit stronger on the offensive side?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just decision-making. And it's maybe some kids putting some pressure on themselves where maybe they feel like they have to take over, they have to perform at a higher level. And so for us, it's basically just trying to tell them to slow down. In the game against Georgia Southern, we had a few possessions where there was nothing from the playbook. It was nothing, that was extremely hard to come up with. But they had a big post player in that we didn't feel like could guard ball screens very well, and basically told everybody to clear out. And as the play's going on, Berger, get to the wing, clear out, flow, come on, and got some possessions off that. Did that a little bit late. So just trying to, from a coaching standpoint, for me, we're going to have to control a little bit more of that in terms of where we put people and whose hands the ball is in those situations, obviously.
Before we do get into the Georgia Southern game and recapping some of those games last week, like I mentioned, last week was very eventful for you in the program. Yeah. You get a key player hurt against Western Kentucky. You get a player test positive for COVID. Once you get to Georgia, you had a coach on your staff that had the quarantine. You had the leading scorer against Jacksonville State have to leave the game when you had a lead in that game. How did you try to lead your team through, I know, what was a lot of emotions and a lot of highs and lows, not just in terms of your games, but also in terms of just stuff that you got to go through when you go on the road, it seems like, in these days in college athletics?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is just to not make a bigger deal of it than it is. Every team's going to deal with injuries throughout the course of a season. My approach has never been to, bring a kid in and say, X player is out. She scored 16 points a game. We need you to give us 8 more points or anything. You just let it kind of naturally happen. And you see who kind of steps up in those situations. And so, obviously getting down there and having a player test positive, we were going to practice Thursday afternoon. And to me, that was a a suspect thing to do because we didn't know if anybody else would test positive. So we could have went and practiced and possibly spread it more with someone being asymptomatic. And so, I pulled the plug on that practice. We went and got tests, and everybody got tested. And then once everybody tested negative, that's when we moved forward. Obviously, we didn't practice on Thursday because we had a set slot to do that. But we watched film. We talked about what we needed to do in terms of being successful in that game on Friday, and went and had Thanksgiving dinner. So that was kind of how we dealt with it. But no, I think a lot of times coaches overreact in those situations, and that's not something we're going to do because it doesn't. If we're trying to teach these young people how to, survive and be leaders in their communities and things like that, once they get older and get out of school, they have to learn not to treat every situation like that as if it's life or death.
I think it's a really good reminder for everybody, too. Of course, the men had to deal with that, too, when they go to Myrtle Beach and go through all the different protocols. And even those around in our athletic department, it's just even when you do things right and you follow protocols, COVID can still get spread.
Right.
And it's not going anywhere.
Yep.
It's going to be something that you and the team are going to have to deal with as you go throughout the year.
May not be the last time. So, I think the way that we handled it this time just will give our kids confidence moving forward. We've got all but one player vaccinated, all but one coach vaccinated, so I think percentage-wise we're pretty good with that. I think, obviously talking to Kellen, we've had 2 instances now this year where we've had a player test positive, but it hasn't spread, and so I think that's where the vaccine has been helpful for our program.
Well, let's talk about your win against Georgia Southern a little bit more. 71-67 was the final. Obviously, Deljanae Williams, Berger was outstanding. 26 points. She had 10 of those 26 at the free throw line, 4 of 7 behind the arc, 6 of 11 from the field in the game. But really, I thought Nat Lalich was big for you, too. 13 points, season high in threes for her, 3 of 6. You had 4 players scoring double figures. That's the most since your win against Stephen College to start off the year. Just seeing the distribution, I'm sure, being out throughout your team, that's, of course, always something you work with as a coach, right? You don't just want one person to be able to have the wealth, but it seemed like you had a really well-balanced offensive attack against Georgia Southern.
Yeah, that's something we strive for all the time, and so we hadn't really gotten that done to this, to that point of, obviously the 2 wins, so hopefully they understand that the ball needs to be shared, needs to be moved around. But going into that game, actually, I guess it would have been that morning, Saturday morning, sorry. When we met and watched film from the Jacksonville State game, one of the players had asked Alex, she was like, "Are we really that bad? Can we win a game?" and Alex told me, and I was like, "We're not bad, guys. We're not bad. We're just right there. We have to learn how to win. We have to close out some of those. We have to have better possessions. We have to understand that the decision you make in the first quarter that results in a turnover, that possession matters just as much as that one does in the fourth quarter, and I think they are starting to understand that. But we really just talked to them about how we're right there, we're close. We're 4 to 5 possessions. That's what we're trying to fix. We're not trying to overhaul anything, change offense, change defense, whatever it may be. We're just trying to fix 4 or 5 possessions a game for our losses, and we could very easily be 5-1 right now. And so, for me, I think. A couple comments that I've heard. A referee that had our game at Eastern Illinois and did our game against Georgia Southern comes up before the game, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you." And she's like, "Good to see you, Coach." And she's like, "Man, they look like a different team." And I'm like, "Thanks. We're working hard every day to get things headed in the right direction." She's like, "Their attitudes are so much better than they were last year." So those things mean a lot to me. Coach Williams had a friend on the Georgia Southern staff who, before we played him, was like, "Coach." Told him, "Coach, man, these kids look, it's not the film I watched this summer." He's like, "They look totally different. You guys are doing a great job. You got a lot of those same kids back." So it's, he's like, "You guys just keep doing what you're doing," kind of thing. And so know that we're making progress. How many wins does that translate into? I don't know. But I'm not concerned about that right now. I've said it over and over. This first year is about growth and learning. Helping these kids become the best players they can be, and then just continuing to build from there.
Chad Killinger is our guest. It's the Indiana State Coaches Show at the corner of Food and Fun, 7th and Elm. If you're out and around Terre Haute, come on by. We'd love to see you. We still got some room up top here to come and listen to Coach Killinger and the rest of our show here tonight. But to further that point, we talked about it when you first got the job of, even coaches that say, you've never been a big coach on, we have to get X amount of wins for this to be a successful season. I mean, to kind of further your point, Coach Killinger, it is about the evolution of your team, the evolution of the program, and really the measuring stick that I'm sure you and the staff are going to continue to have is, are we getting better? And you just try to get better each and every week. I know that's every team, and that's a cliche that everybody can use. But
not everybody gets better
yeah.
throughout the year. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that they're the same team from the first game they play as they are the last game they play.
Or go the other way.
Yes, and so it's like Natalia Lalich. I mean, that's a great example. And I think it was that same team meeting on that Saturday morning. I keep thinking we played Thursday, Friday. I don't know why. But,
well, just saying, as much as we've
like
been on the road with you,
ago,
I agree. Days are out the window.
But she's a lot more than just a shooter. Like, she's a good basketball player. She can put the ball on the floor and get to the rim. She can pull up and shoot a mid-range jump shot. She can play solid defense. And she was actually sitting with Coach Williams and I after the game on Friday, and we talked a little bit. And, just really told her on Saturday morning, like, you're more than just a shooter. Like, in front of the whole team, you're a good basketball player. You're not one-dimensional. There's more things you can do, and just little things like that. And she comes out and plays the way she did. That's not, I'm not saying that's why, but having people believe in you. And before that Georgia Southern game, I was like, guys, that we believe in you. But you got to believe in us. You got to believe in each other. You got to have confidence in each other. You got to trust each other. And it's easy to say, but it's hard to do. But I think we're kind of continuing to chip away at those walls, and so I'm excited to see how things play out.
I know you'll have a road game, starting this week. Chicago State on Wednesday. You'll be in Chicago.
On the road again.
On the road again. I tell Coach Schertz we should just play Willie Nelson's on the road again, because it just feels like that's where we have been throughout the start of this year.
The good news is that next year we have 7 home games.
There you go. So there may be the negative in the moment of the flip side of it. You will be in renovated Holman Center at the new video board next year. Plenty of times to see that in Holman Center. But, just kind of looking ahead to your challenges ahead this week with Chicago State first. Their lone win this year, they're 1-6 on the year, but their lone win came against a Big Ten team in Wisconsin on the road. It will only be their second home game of their schedule. So they played a lot on the road, so they're just going to be eager to get back at home and play against you. Initially, your thoughts on Chicago State this week and your next challenge?
Yeah, they're really athletic. Remind you a little bit of Jacksonville State. Just not, a little smaller team, but really athletic, quick guards. Got a couple guards that can shoot the three, and a forward that's pretty good off the dribble from the high post. So very similar to what we saw from Jacksonville State. But they're head coach in their second year, still trying to establish some things there, so I'm excited for us to go and compete. Just every time we get a chance to play, I think you got to be thankful for that. Right now with everything we've gone through the last couple of years, but feel like it's a game that we can go. I told the girls a few weeks ago, we're not talking about winnable games anymore. Like, I feel like we can go and compete and have a shot to win every game if we execute and follow game plans. And so, we've been on the road. We've been tested. We've won on the road. We've had chances to win other games on the road. So, that should just make it that much, not easier, but just a little bit better for us in terms of going on the road and being able to perform. So that's anytime you can win on the road, I think it's really big. And so we got 2 on the road, 2 at home, and another on the road after that. So it'll be exciting to get back here on Saturday, but at the same time we got job to do on Wednesday before that.
No question. And as we kind of look ahead, Western Michigan will await for you this weekend. It's going to be a great doubleheader of action on Saturday at Holman Center. Men will host Miami of Ohio, and then later on the night, the women will host Western Michigan. I know your focus is on Chicago State, but for those just briefly, Western Michigan, they're 3-2 right now in the year. They do play Valpo tonight, so you'll kind of get to see a Valley team go up against them before you do. Their only losses this year, though, are Purdue and USC. Those are their lone 2 losses, even though they are a preseason pick to finish 10th out of 12 teams in the MAC. Western is historically a team in the MAC that can really wreak some havoc on the MAC women's side of basketball.
Yeah, and I think I think they're kind of like us. I mean, they're trying to kind of reestablish themselves a little bit, and they've got some size. They've got a guard that's averaging 18 points a game. So we have to do a good job defensively on the opponent's best players. and make sure that no one else is stepping up to have a bigger night than they should.
You know, we talked about your support. I know you're looking forward to getting back at home, and you've answered it a couple times already here in this segment, but it seems like it's always a coaching, I don't want to say coaching cliche, but one, man, we can find out a lot about our team when we're away. Outside of just saying you found out a lot about your team away, what more do you find out about your team when they get put into those difficult situations?
The best thing, even through, when we left – we want to talk about travel. When we left Bowling Green to go to Nashville just to fly down to Georgia, there was a car accident, and we were on the bus for 2 hours delay. So an extra 2 hours. So we didn't get that time to get to the airport and then be able to relax a little bit, sit down and eat, talk, have that camaraderie part of it. We did that on the bus, obviously. So when that got backed up, no one complained. No one said anything. We didn't rush them. A lot of times coaches panic and they're like screaming, everybody get off the bus. You yell at them to calm down, but you scream at them to calm down. It doesn't make sense to me. So we just did what we were doing and got through security and everything fine. Got in there, pretty late. Had to cancel that practice, had to deal with the COVID issue. Then Adrian gets hurt against Jacksonville State, so now we're dealing with that. And then coming back, we had a late flight. We wanted to get back, even if it was late. We wanted to get back to where they could go to sleep in their own beds and have that day to sleep in and do what they needed to do. And so when that flight got canceled, it was actually close to 12:30. Almost 1 o'clock in the morning but it kept getting pushed back because the plane wasn't there because of weather in Cleveland. Imagine it snowed in Cleveland. So that was what pushed all that back. And they didn't make sense at that point to get to a hotel because we would have been there for an hour and a half. Why, because the flight we ended up getting back was 7:17 in the morning. So, we just hunkered down in the airport and coaches kind of watched over the girls while they slept and made sure everything was all right, and no one complained a bit. So I made sure to let them know when we got back, because we actually flew to St. Louis and then took a bus from St. Louis because there were no flights to Indianapolis. Then when we got back, I just, I thanked the kids for just handling it, not complaining, not moaning about anything. They just handled it, and I think that kind of growth and that kind of maturity just gives you more hope for the future of our program.
We got Coach Williams coming up. Clint will join us here in the next segment. Why was he a guy you wanted to bring in and be a part of your staff?
Well, I'm kind of mouthy sometimes, so having a good bodyguard helps. No, it was important to have him because he knows what my expectations are from our staff and what we need to do on a daily basis. And that's the hard thing. I'm not a big meetings person. I'm not a person that I don't feel like I should have to sit down and tell you what to do or give you a list of job responsibilities. Like, what you're in charge of, be in charge of it. We're splitting up scouts. The date that says it's due, you should have it done, kind of thing, like all of those things. So he does a good job of just helping. Obviously known LaKale and known Deidre for a long time, but they've never worked for me as far as being assistants go. We've worked together or just known each other. And so having him here really helps kind of the staff transition to working together. And I look at our staff as more as friends than I do, assistants or whatever. But I think he helps as far as that goes. Great presence to have around the team and everything. So I just think there's a lot of intangibles that he was going to be able to bring to our staff this first year.
Well, and the energy level, I mean, that's just you can't trade that, right? And I feel like you want to build that confidence within your group, and I feel Clint is a huge part of that.
Yeah, and it's funny because I told the girls the other day, I'm like, we go out on the floor, you guys stand in the tunnel, and nobody says anything. But our number one word that you guys want is energy, and then it's like confidence and respect. And we bring good energy to the court, but like going out, we don't do anything. In the locker room, we're waiting on somebody else. And so we broke the huddle. Well, I showed them a video of what the girls did at East Carolina when I was there, and on a Saturday morning, just showed them the video, like something like this, like to get fired up. And we broke the huddle before we went out on the floor the last time. Or the second to last time, whichever it was, at that last game. I just said hard work on three, which is not something we normally say, you know, and we do it. And then Tanisha Curry starts singing hard work, you know, the military
Yes.
kind of chant thing.
Yeah.
She starts doing that, and then they all start doing it, and I'm like, we might have found our thing. So, you know, that energy, though, is important, and I think our girls bring it for the most part. I think it excites me when I see a player who maybe hasn't played as much, I'll just example Essie Latou, go to St. Louis, didn't play a second. She was the first kid off the bench cheering every time her teammates did something. She was grabbing Gatorade cups and taking them to the players in timeouts. But you notice those kind of things, and that's when you start to tell kind of who's bought in, who's not. And she can contribute on the court. I mean, she's done some good things for us. Can shoot the ball, but I mean, just those little things you notice, and like them all having that energy for each other. You can see that in the games. You can see it on the bench, and so that's you know, that's exciting for me because that's important to them. So it has to be important for the coaches, and so, you know,
No question.
hopefully we continue to build that energy.
It's been so much fun to see your group continue to play. And again, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock tip will be that game. It will not be on the radio, but it will be streamed online. Our good friend Brian Jennings will have that call Wednesday at Chicago State. And then I'll have the call on Saturday night. So it's going to be double duty for me. So I'll get the men with Miami earlier on the radio and then get a chance to chat with you before your opportunity to play against Western Michigan on Saturday. Coach K, it's been so much fun to see your team play at this point, and look forward to you keep it rolling this week.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. If I duck out early, it's because got to get to a middle school game.
Okay. Well, that is important. Coach K, thanks so much. That was Chad Killinger. When we come back here on the show, Clint Williams will be our guest to close out the women's portion of the Indiana State Coaches Show. This is the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill at the corner of Food and Fun on 105.5 The Legend. Welcome back to the corner of Food and Fun. It's the Indiana State Coaches Show. Yeah, Miss Vicky's back there getting food. She's not clapping. She lost her duties. Luckily, Michelle here up front and able to get the crowd going for us for really the main attraction. Clint Williams, assistant coach of Indiana State women's basketball, joining us here after Chad Killinger joined us to start off the show. Clint, number one, good to see you, man. I would ask how your Thanksgiving was. I know it was good, but I also know it was a little bit chaotic last week, right?
Definitely was. You know, we definitely had a lot of adversity, but like Coach K said, the girls handled it tremendously. We just kind of had the mentality where we're going to get through this no matter what, and to come out with a win, and the last game was really good, so definitely was an eventful weekend.
Coach K talked about why it was so important to get you to come here. For you, when that phone rang and it was Coach K on the other side, what was it about him that you knew you had to say yes and that this was an opportunity that you really couldn't pass up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, once he let me know when he was going through the process of interviewing and stuff, and I was definitely excited and praying very hard for him to get the job. And once he got it, and, you know, he just told me, pack my bags, we're going to Terre Haute. And I was like, I'm there, Coach. So it was definitely very exciting because I know how he is, how he operates. I know he can and will turn this program around and definitely have a lot of success here. So I wanted to come and be a part of that and just kind of help get things back on track here.
I know I asked you this when you first got here back in the summer, but for those that don't know, how did you initially get to know Coach K, and were your paths first crossed?
Yeah, our paths first crossed several years ago. I was at a Division II school in Boston and looking for a new job, and, you know, started opening at Moberly, and I knew the kind of program it was, and, you know, applied and interviewed with Coach K and got the job. So we worked together for 3 years there at Moberly. Like I said, had a lot of success. Our last year going 32-1, and, you know, it's funny because we literally sat in the office in Moberly, and this was his vision. Like, he said, okay, I'm going to leave. I'm going to get a Division I assistant coaching job because I want to become a D1 head coach. And he said, give me 3 to 5 years, and I'll get a job, and we'll be back together. And literally in 3 years, he got this job, and we're back together. So now we're going to bring that same magic here.
We get to see it. I don't get to see it as much as you do, obviously, because you're on staff. But when was the moment for you at Moberly when you were under Coach K, regardless of obviously the records and everything, that speaks volumes alone. But when was the first moment to you when you were like, he knows what he's doing. Like, this guy's really special.
Well, it was my first year. We had 14 freshmen on the team, which is definitely very hard. And for him to figure out a way to make them gel and play together, I mean, we ended up going 18-14 that first year, but to get 18 wins with 14 freshmen is a lot. So I remember my first practice with him, I saw how detail-oriented he was, and that just blew me away. And then my first scouting report with him, it was actually his wife, Rachel, kind of helped me figure out how he is. I was kind of putting together the scouting report, and I remember, like, typically, like, everybody puts, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for positions. And she was like, oh, no, you need to put specific whose jersey number is where and show the details. I was like, okay, that's how he likes it, So that's kind of how I kind of learned how he is. And, I mean, I definitely like it, and I definitely, like I said, had a lot of success doing it that way.
Look, Clint, basketball consumes so much of your guys' lives, and we understand that. We get it. It's part of being a coach, and it's why you live, eat, and breathe it. But what is it about Coach K and Rachel and their family atmosphere and how they are with their family and how it's an extension to you guys and how that helps you, throughout just your job, but also make your job not feel like that?
Exactly. And it really doesn't feel like work at all, because like I said, we're always together, whether the kids or Rachel come to the office or practice or we go to their house and we have just team meals or sometimes we just go over there to hang out, They definitely, from the first time they've met me, embraced me. We kind of have a joke, I'm kind of Michael Orr from The Blind Side with his wife and kids. We definitely all hang out together. So, yeah, they definitely embraced me from day one, and, we have a great time, and it was so natural. It wasn't nothing forced. We definitely just really have a great connection, a great vibe, and I love them like they're my own family.
Basketball was a sport you played. When did you first get introduced to it, and why is it a sport that, of course, now you just have fallen in love with and want to be a coach in?
First played basketball when I was like 3 or 4 years old back in the Virgin Islands. Basketball was huge back there, so I definitely played it all my life. And then came to America 2008, went to junior college first, and then went to my 4-year school and finished out there. And then once I was done, when my eligibility was up, I knew I wasn't ready to be done with basketball. So my head coach at the time, he told me, he was like, you have a great mind. You should think about going into coaching. And I was like, definitely interested in doing that. I wasn't, trying to do anything else. And he kept me on staff. So I started on the men's side for my first 2 years of my career. And I was looking for a new opportunity. And I just applied to that job in Boston I was talking about. And, the coach there, she just gave me a chance. She was like, have you ever coached women before? And I was like, nope, never coached women. And she was like, it's the same thing pretty much. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So I went up to Boston, and that was my first time with women. So been there ever since, and, I love it, never looked back.
You mentioned coming over from the Virgin Islands and coming to the United States. What was that like for you when you first came to the States?
I mean, it was a huge culture shock. I mean, my JUCO was at Little Rock, Arkansas, and first of all, winters, that was brutal. I was like, what is this? Because it's sunny year-round over there, so I never knew how to, like, even buy a winter coat. Like, my sister, thankfully, she, like, helped me figure all that stuff out. That was horrendous. But
get ready for this winter, man.
I know, I heard. Oh, man. But, yeah, I mean, it was just a culture shock in terms of, like, the different weather changes and then how things operate here. Not that it's bad or good, it's just different, So I just kind of had to adapt and figure things out, and now I'm pretty cool now, so I'm settled in.
As you get settled in with this team, what initially, when you started to meet the young ladies and the women that make up this roster, that you liked back in June whenever you got here, but now that you've had time and you've had some games, that you're like, man, I really like this team more.
Yeah.
And then the more time that you've gotten with them.
I mean, it's one thing to talk about it. So, like, when we first got here and, like, we met with all the girls individually, they always talking about how hungry they are to win and how they just want to have some success. And you got to put the work in to do that. So actually seeing how hard they worked from this summer to now has kind of blown us away as a staff, because we thought we would have to come in and kind of really teach them how to work hard, but they already knew how to work hard. And now we just, like Coach K said, all our games have been so close, and we're trying to teach them how to win because we've been coming up short. So like Saturday when we won, literally, Natalia, she cried. She's shaking hands, bawling tears because she's so relieved that we finally got over the hump, and we showing them like, hey, you guys can do this. Like, we believe in you guys. We're not liars. One of Coach K's core values is always tell the truth. So we tell them we really believe in you guys. We have enough talent to get this done and really be competitive, and now we're just teaching them how to win. So like Coach K said, it's literally coming down to 4 or 5 possessions each game, and we think like they're really buying in and trying to figure out how to maximize those possessions.
Coach Williams, will kind of get you out of here on this note, but to your point, some people may think you're close, your record could be 5-1. That means it's got to be almost easier to get back and go to work. Sometimes when you're so close, it can almost be even more of a gut punch and harder to come back. So understanding that, what more has impressed you about this group that even though you are so close, and I know a lot of those losses that you've had were tough to take, but your group never got discouraged?
To be honest, it's Coach K. Like, after such close, gut-wrenching losses, it's easy to just kind of pack it in. But every day we come back and we watch film, he's literally teaching them, like, hey, look at this. This is what we could do and be better. And the girls really like that approach. You know, apparently that's something they're not used to. So they definitely like that approach, and they've been applying it. So, like, even like this morning in practice, one things we kind of been stressing, and they haven't been doing a good job totally overall, is echoing everything Coach K says. So when he calls a play out, everybody echoes it so everybody's on the same page. And like I said, every day now since we started teaching that, they've been doing it great. And today was fantastic. Like, he calls a play out and everybody's echoing it. So, like, they're really buying in and trying to be connected. And I think, like I said, success will come in wins hopefully this year. But if not, you know, we're definitely just trying to continue to make them get better. But like I said, we're definitely excited for this group, and I'll go to war with them any day.
And that's all you can do. You know, is just continue to get better each and every day. And you got that next opportunity Wednesday night in Chicago against Chicago State. Clint, I've enjoyed so much getting to know you during your time here. It's always been great to see a shadow just coming down the hallway and then seeing you with your big smile and always saying hello ever since you've gotten here. I know it's affecting this team in a huge positive way. I know you give a lot of credit to Coach K, Coach D, Coach Malone. Everybody deserves credit. You deserve a big part of that credit, too. Thanks so much for the time, and
Thanks,
keep it
Luke.
rolling.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
Once again, that was Clint Williams. Join us here on the Indiana State Coaches Show. That wraps it up for the women's portion. When we come back after this break, head coach Josh Schertz, fresh off the practice court in Holman Center, will join us here in just a matter of moments. This is the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Thanks, brother. Welcome back to the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Big thank you to Chad Killinger as well as Clint Williams for joining us here on the Indiana State Coaches Show. Now it's time to turn our attention to the Indiana State men's basketball side, who begins Missouri Valley Conference play on Wednesday night in the Windy City in Chicago against the Loyola Ramblers. Of course, it's the first year that the Valley has been able to put in these conference games early, right out of the gate in December, as head coach Josh Schertz joins us. Coach Schertz, happy post-Thanksgiving to you. I know we got the talk last week and before the Ball State game and heading into it. I know Miss Vicky there in the back, Michelle, many of these supporters here in the room were able to really throw you and the team a really nice Thanksgiving get-together last week.
We did. I want to say first, too, Clint was cutting into my time. I was about to rough him up, but then I remembered how big he was, so I let it go. I just kept on moving. I was a little upset that I saw. I was like, I don't know, chance. But, no, we did have a great Thanksgiving, and thanks so much, Ms. Vicky, Michelle, everybody who put that on. Incredibly special for our guys who were away from family and are celebrating Thanksgiving kind of on their own to make that day so special for the coaches, players, and all the work they put into that. There's a lot of things that are really cool about Indiana State and its relationship with its basketball program, but to me that part is the coolest, is the quality of people and the connection and care that those around have for our players and our program.
When you think of the support that you guys continue to get throughout the year, and we'll get to the Ball State game in a moment, I know that's a result that you and the staff want to continue to move past, get ready for Loyola on Wednesday, but I know despite some of those difficult results, that support is something you guys continue to feel, not just when you go out into the community, but even when you come back and get back to work and continue to grind for the next opponent.
Yeah, look, I get it. We're in a very much a bottom line business. My mind doesn't work like that, but I do think, when you're a coach or you're a player, this is a part of it, right? You're in a public position. there's a lot of praise and there's a lot of condemnation and probably you have to ignore both, right? Yeah, you're never as good as people are when when things are going good. You're never as bad as people are telling you when things are going bad. But the key to me always in this business is what are your sources of peace and contentment, and right. And so for me, those are things that are unconditional. And you do have some fans. There's a difference between fans and supporters, right? And fans are with you win and win. And supporters are with you through the good times and the bad times, and it doesn't make one right or one wrong. It's not but there's a big difference to me, and we have a lot of supporters and people that are with you through the thick and thin, and that's what what makes this place special, and it makes you feel a tremendous responsibility, not to have results and efforts, like we did on Saturday, and that it not only obviously it hurts you, the people that are involved, but you certainly feel for the people that give so much to the program, and you want to give them a product they can be proud of. And you're not always going to win, but you can always play the right way. You can always compete. You can always prepare and to do those things. And so I feel a tremendous responsibility every day I wake up, as the head coach of this program, but that part of it, the supporters and the people that are those type of people are really a huge reason why I think you feel that sense of responsibility.
Wednesday will be your 8th game of the year. It'll be your 7th away from Terre Haute. That alone, we talked to Coach Killinger about it, how much he's learned about his team on the road this year and how much more he can find out about your team. Just like his, you've had to deal with COVID on the road. You've had to deal with different protocols, shuffling lineups, not a ton of practices that necessarily focus on specifically Indiana State. All in all, encompassing it all, what have you been able to find out more about your team coach shirts, because you've been on the road so much here in the first month and a half?
I think I've learned that practice is very overrated, because we practiced for 4 days going into Ball State. It looked like we hadn't practiced in 6 years. So probably that we should practice less and play more. No, I think what we've learned is that when we're right and we're tuned in and we're ready to play, that we're pretty dang good. I think we showed it against Old Dominion. We showed it obviously for a long time against Oklahoma. We showed it in stretches against a really good New Mexico State team. And I think we've learned that we're not talented enough, that if we're not fully engaged, we're really, really bad. And so our valleys are deep. And, we're not, it's going to change in time. But we don't have, we're not the most talented team in the world, which is fine. You can win a lot of games by not beating yourself, right? I mean, and the smaller your margin, the more sound you got to be, the more tough, the more together, more disciplined, the better prepared. You have to take every possession, and every possession in the game, matters an incredible amount. You got to be very task oriented, and I think we've shown that when we're locked in and we're playing well, we're dialed in, that we really can play at a high level. And again, we had chances to beat New Mexico State. We were 45-41 with Oklahoma. With 15 minutes to go, we beat Old Dominion by 41. We've had some really good results, and then we're down to Ball State more than we were down to Purdue. So we've shown how bad we can be when we're not those things. And so that's on me. I've got to get and make sure that we're more consistent, that guys are playing the right way, and that we're not. I think it's something where to be a good team, you have to overcome adversity, because adversity is a part of every season. You have adversity in games. Doesn't matter if it's Alabama football rallying against Auburn. I mean, you're going to be down. You're going to be, get hit in the mouth. You got to be able to find a way to dig in, fight, stay together, and overcome adversity to win and be a good team. And so, again, we've shown it in spurts. Green Bay, showed it against New Mexico State, got down 20, cut it to 5. And then have shown times where we haven't shown that resiliency, haven't shown that resolve and that fortitude, and that's on me. I gotta make sure we're building that, and that's part of ingrained in our culture. Because if we're going to get this program where we want to, that's got to be a foundational building block.
In the loss to Ball State over the weekend, what was most frustrating for you just about the game in general?
basically tip off the buzzer. No, there was
Yeah.
the entire 40 minutes was frustrating. I think the lack of two things, probably the amount of mistakes that were effort and or mental related. There's no excuse for ever for effort mistakes, and really the amount of mental mistakes we made is inexcusable. People talk about, oh, you missed 10 layups and you missed all these open threes, you missed 12 free throws. Throw that out the window. No one's missing on purpose. If we're getting good shots, we'll live with that. If we can't make layups, then I'll get better players and we'll make layups. But it's making sure we're competing defensively, making sure we're playing the right way offensively. I thought offensively we're actually pretty good. We scored 75 points, and we missed 10 uncontested layups, and we missed 12 free throws, and we shot poorly from three. I think ZB always charts that we were 1 for 13 on open threes, missed 8 uncontested layups in the first half, and we scored 75 points, missing 12 free throws. We could have scored 100, 110 easily. It wasn't the offense. It was the defense. It was the lack of attention to detail. It was the mental mistakes. It was the effort mistakes. It was guys, over helping. It was guys not helping enough. It was guys, falling asleep off the ball. It was guys getting driven. There was, pretty much. It's not a scenario where if it's one person doing one thing or it's one area, you got to clean this up. Then it's an easy fix, right? But it's pretty much. Right now, on Saturday, it was every person in every area defensively that was poor. So it's more of like today was just basically back to almost like we did in June, just introducing defense and concepts and principles, because I think, when people aren't doing the right thing, it generally, at least with my kids, boils down to ignorance or apathy. Either you don't know or you don't care. And so if we can eliminate the don't know part, then if guys aren't doing it, I know they don't care, then I know they don't need to play. And I don't want there to ever be the case of, oh man, I didn't know that's what we're doing. Like, so now it's okay, you don't care enough to do the right things that lead to winning. Then we'll put somebody else in who does, and if we can't, then we'll get other guys who will do the right things. But that's where we got to get to, and that's what today was, back to basically ground zero on the defensive end in terms of teaching. And again, we've shown it. I mean, the way we defended Old Dominion, the way we defended Hanover, the way we defended, in stretches against Green Bay. I mean, Oklahoma. Again, it's not a question of can we do it. It's the ability to do it and do it consistently, because being able to do something every once in a while, you're never going to be a very good team if you're not able to do it and replicate it and do your job on a consistent basis.
I feel at times, Coach Schertz, once again, Josh Schertz is our guest, head coach of Indiana State basketball here from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. It's the Indiana State Coaches Show here at the corner of Food and Fun. We got Zach Bovair coming up in a matter of moments as well here on the Coaches Show. But to your point, I felt like, you can sometimes be painted as an offensive guy, and offense is your focus, and almost that is it. That I know you guys focus so much on the defensive side within your practices and what you're instilling. You really spend maybe even more time on your defensive principles than you really do your offensive scheme. And I know I'm trying to ask you a question here and not make a statement and just have you rattle it off, but I feel like that's what has got to just irk you a little bit more too, is because you guys are working a lot, on the defensive side, and that's what is probably most infuriating when Ball State put up 97 and Purdue only put up 92 on you.
Yeah, it's infuriating because you're obviously as a coach, you're responsible for that. And I think the defensive end is something, we always talk about to win, you have to eliminate losing, right? And you have to take, losing out of the equation. Everybody thinks it's, you go out and you win games. Honestly, you go out and you take losing out of the equation. And a lot of the things that we talk about are controllable. So missing layups and missing free throws and missing threes, I know people want to hear that. That's not controllable. No one's missing on purpose. Everybody's trying to make every shot they shoot. What is controllable is transition defense. What is controllable is boxing out every single time somebody shoots the ball. What is controllable is appropriate help and rotations and understanding defensive concepts. So, what is controllable is your effort to guard the ball. What is controllable is getting loose balls. And again, driving those points home. And yeah, people, I think that it's an offensive deal, and we've been really good offensively. But if you look at our teams at LMU over the years, we ranked at the top of the country most every year in defense. And nobody would ever notice that because we averaged 90 points a game. But we were number one in the country in field goal defense year in, year out. But defense is blue collar. Defense is toughness. Defense is effort and communication and toughness and trust. And I always say, the best team builder. Everybody say, take your team on a retreat or go play, putt-putt or, whatever. The best team builder you can do for a basketball team is to get good defensively because of all the things it requires, the level of trust, the level of communication. And you have to be bought into that. And it takes all 5 guys, because if 3 guys are doing their job and 2 guys aren't, or if 4 guys are doing it and 1 guy's not, then the job's not going to get done. It's just like when we talk about checkouts, shot goes up and maybe they have 4 guys crashing and 3 guys are doing a great job boxing out and 1 guy misses it and the other guy's standing watching it and they get the rebound. And when that happened, that happened to us a couple times, and maybe, we're guarding the ball and 1 guy falls through the ball, they give up a cut and we give up a layup, and guys not being attentive to scouting reports. So, we're guarding a certain guy a certain way, and man, he goes left and we're going to try to, shade him to his right, force him right, and we get beat left a couple times, or a guy can't shoot and he shot fakes and we jump and we get beat. And there's these mental errors, and so we have to clean that up, and that goes back to, being committed to doing the right things, paying attention to the details. Teams are only special in their ability to prepare. That's what makes the best players. That's what makes the best teams. Certainly talent, but it's not about wanting to win. That's the most, kind of overrated, dumb thing. People say, oh, they wanted it more. Like, no, everybody wants it. Everybody wants to win when they're in competition. It's, the preparation that allows you to have success inside the game. That's what makes an individual special, makes a team special, is that they're special in their ability to prepare and then do it over and over and over and over again without ever, losing their focus, without ever getting bored with the process. That, it's a competitive, it's about time at LMU, competitive stamina, and being able to do it, championship after championship, day after day, and be able to lock in and do that. And that's what makes individual players and teams special, is that ability to prepare and be at their best every single time they step into competition. Because once the ball's tipped up, everybody wants to win. We didn't look like it on Saturday, but we wanted to win. Now we deflated when things didn't go our way and guys hung their head, and I thought we played discouraged, and I thought, we played without any kind of, energy, particularly defensively, but our guys wanted to win, and we prepared well. But you have to have that resiliency and that competitiveness. I always ask them, what does it take to break you? And is it a referee's call? Is it a shot going in? Whatever the case may be. And we have to be more resilient and be more gritty to be the team we want to be.
Well, if you're looking for a pick-me-up, do not watch your manager team's tape from their games either. So
I heard they were they're 0-2. They said there was a 6'8" manager from Ball State that was basically the Zach Edey of the manager game.
Okay, okay.
That's what they said.
No, I'm not surprised by that. Coach, as you look towards this week, I know everyone, of course, focused on the first task at hand. Loyola, their lone 2 losses this year, Michigan State and Auburn in their MTE just in the Bahamas just over the weekend. Lucas Williamson back. Brandon Norris has just been a killer, 30 assists to just 8 turnovers on the year. Drew Valentine in his first season taking over for Coach Moser and the job he did. And then also, not to look too far ahead, too, Miami of Ohio is having a good year, too. 5-1. They'll be here on Saturday. They actually host Cincinnati on Wednesday night, which will be a big home game for them before you get to this weekend. But just if you can, just in closing, looking at Loyola and Miami, 2 really good challenges this week. And, of course, Wednesday, not even want to say matters more because it's the next one, but it is the start of conference play.
Yeah. No, it matters a lot. And I think Loyola to me is the program that's probably, the one to me that I think is the one you kind of look at as an aspirational. You look at where they were and what they built, and it took time. Like, I was telling somebody, you look at Coach Moser's first year, they went 1-17 in the conference. And then the next year they went 2-16, so they were 3-33 his first 2 years in the league. And then year 3 they were below 500. In year 4 they were above. Then year 5 they were below. And then they were in the Final Four in the Sweet 16. They built a sustainable program over time, and it does take time to do it right. And that's the program that I look at and I go, man, that's, not that I want to go 1-17 in the league or 2-16, but the program that you look at and you say, where they were 10 years ago and that they got to the Final Four. And Loyola's become Loyola, but it wasn't that a decade ago. It was kind of a bottom feeder in the Missouri Valley and an afterthought and pretty much a guaranteed win to now a program that I think is one of the 25 best in America, on a year-in, year-out basis. They lost Krutwig, lost Porter Moser. Everybody else came back. They've added some transfer pieces in there. couple of Ivy League transfers that are really good, and I think they're honestly better than they were in some ways than they were last year. Just with the amount of experience and corporate knowledge, you look at the way they play. Not only are they talented, but man, do they play hard, and they're smart, and they're together, and they cover each other, and they just make each other better. And you know, that's what it takes to win. You know, you got to have the right people and the right level of talent, the right level of character, right level of experience. They have all those things. So it's a great measuring stick for us. It's a great opportunity for our guys to get in and see what it looks like and say, okay, this is the top of the league. This is what a elite mid-major top-level Missouri Valley team looks like. And that's the aspirational goals, is to build something similar. And then the fact that they did it there, you know, I know it can be done. And so looking forward to testing ourselves against that. You know, competition's a mirror. It kind of reveals, you know, what you are, and it shows you who you are. That's what makes competition great. We're going to go in there and certainly going to have to play our best game of the year to have a chance. To have a chance to win that game, we'll have to be at our absolute apex, better than we were against Old Dominion. Because I do think outside of Purdue, they're the best team we played by far. I think they're far better than Oklahoma, far better than Mexico State. I really do. Watching them, they're terrific. But that's the challenge. And then I told the team, you know, that needs to be our best game of the year on Wednesday night, and then it needs to be the worst game we play the rest of the year, because every single game we're better than the game before. And that's how I'm going to look at it, you know, is that needs to be our best game of the year we played all year Wednesday night. And then we need to be a much better team Saturday against Miami of Ohio, who, as you said, is 5-1 and playing great basketball. And so the challenge is, as I told them leaving Ball State, look, it's not going to get any easier. We got to get better. And so it's not going to get, I mean, Ball State, I thought they were terrific against us, but Ball State, you know, is not as good as Loyola. They're not as good as Miami of Ohio. We're going to have to be much better. It's not going to get easier for us. We got to be better, and we're capable of doing that, and that's going to be the challenge, and that's going to be the growth I want to see between now and certainly Wednesday, and then Wednesday to Saturday.
Wednesday night in Chicago, 8 o'clock tip. Count down the tip-off right here on 105.5 The Legend. Will start at 7 o'clock Wednesday night from Gentile Arena. Coach Schertz, appreciate the time as always. Look forward to making that trip on the road again, my friend.
Sounds good, Luke. Thanks.
That was head coach Josh Schertz. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show with Zach Bovair. Join us for our assistant coach spotlight here on the Indiana State Coaches Show. This is the Indiana State Coaches Show on 105.5 The Legend. Welcome back to our final segment here on the Indiana State Coaches Show. Big thank you to Jim Osborne back in the DLC Media Center tonight, just past 7 o'clock here on the 7th and Elm Bar and Grill at the corner of Food and Fun. Thanks to Josh Schertz. We had Chad Killinger and Clint Williams join us earlier. Now a little bit smaller stature from Clint Williams. Zach Bovair joins us, the assistant coach on Josh Schertz's staff. But still, you know, maybe smaller in stature, but you still have enough fight like Clint does when you get out there. I've seen you play some hoops from time to time.
Yeah, I don't think I can guard Clint on the low block. So as long as we stay away, maybe louder in voice. You know, give me credit there.
ZB, it's been so awesome to get to know you as you've been part of this staff and getting to know Coach Schertz and everybody. What's been the best part since you've been able to come to Terre Haute? And now, to be honest, it doesn't feel like you've just been here for this first year. It feels like I've known you a lot longer than just the less than a year that we've known each other.
What do they say about dog ears? You know, everything takes a little bit longer. The best part is I think everything you do, your experiences are formed by the people you do it with, and the people I get to work with every day within the athletic department, and particularly within our staff. It's exhilarating coming to work every day, because I think Coach Schertz is within our program. He's surrounded himself with people that really live by that Kaizen model of trying to be a little bit better every single day, and to just come to work with those minds, including Coach Schertz himself. That's been frankly the thing that sticks out when I think about. I'm losing track of the number of months since I pulled into Terre Haute.
One of the great questions I asked Bryson Williams when we were doing an interview before the Purdue game on our Countdown the Tip-Off interview, I said, how would you describe Coach Schertz? And he just has that Bryson Williams smile, and he just said, relentless. How would you describe Coach Schertz and what you appreciate about how he attacks a team and just the strategy and the work and everything that goes into getting the team prepared for a game.
Well, I think Bryson took my line. So, because relentless is the word I would use, but, Coach Schertz is so comprehensive in everything he does, and that he has I think a lot of times with leaders, it's important to have a vision, and it's important to have an idea of what it should look like at the start, and then form the program like it's almost a ball of clay to model what that program into your vision of what it looks like. And so much of it is about stripping it away too. And so I think Coach Schertz does a phenomenal job of starting with that vision and then being so comprehensive about shaping everything to look like that, and then combining being very hard with the standards in terms of I'm not budging, this is what we're getting to, while also being very soft in terms of how he approaches relationships with people, being his staff members or being players. And that right there is the mixture of that I think is the best leadership success, is someone that's able to be really rigid with standards but really soft with in terms of building relationships with people.
One of the things that I asked you this question about back in the summer when we were kind of introducing you guys, new members of the staff, to everybody on social media was, what got you into basketball? And I kind of had to cut up your answer because I know you're so passionate and what got you into it. But for those
that's a nice way of saying I'm long-winded. That's why I appreciate that.
No,
my parents who are listening back in Bridgeton, Maine right now have been dealing with that my whole life. So they've been trying to get me to move off the ball for my entire life at the dinner table. So I appreciate that.
I can understand that. But to those who haven't heard, what got you into basketball? What was the original thing that drew you into this sport that now you are just crazy about in so many different ways?
I think for me it was I was joking, like I said, my parents, I listened back home. My dad was a big music, big sports guy, and my older brother, took music as what he was going to be into. And so I kind of was like, I assessed the situation and said, all right, I'm going to connect with my dad over sports. And, that was a big thing. And it was a camaraderie. And that's what's attracted me because, like I said, I have the one brother, one older brother, and I was almost envious of bigger families. And so for sports, for me, almost, provided me that big family and that big camaraderie that exists within a team structure. And that's what really led me into sports. And I've been obsessed. I always joke that my parents were well worn. My first word wasn't mom or dad, it was ball. And that should have been their warning to them right off the bat. And then from that point on, I got into sports. And again, the camaraderie that brought it. And then really what led me into coaching was, frankly, the great coaches I had and the coaches that made me feel a certain way about myself and made my chest swell. And I don't know if I did consciously at the time, but that made me say, you know what, I want to have that same impact on someone else. And, and kind of my high school coach was kind of the first one that said, hey, you should think about a career in coaching, and look at me now.
Look at you now, Zach Bovair. One of the areas, too, I think a lot of people, even whether it's from me, Sherrard in the back, who leads our department, I know he enjoys being athletic director, and when he was a student athlete back in the day, me, I enjoy broadcasting games. I know you enjoy coaching, but the reason we're all in it is because of the student athletes.
Yep.
And to be able to make that impact, as you mentioned. What as a coach do you enjoy most about the relationships that you're building specifically with this team now, and you're trying to lay the groundwork for guys like Robbie Avila and many others that are going to come after that aren't here quite yet?
I think at a certain point in life, people are formed who they are, and there's changes that can exist on the margin. But at 18, by no means is that cement dry. So you're seeing, I think the best thing I like is seeing someone come in at 17 or 18 and seeing who they turn into. And even, it happens so quickly. So even within 6 months, you're seeing changes and just different people and how they interact with coaching and how they interact with growth. And seeing a Cam Crawford who came in, who literally arrived on campus at age 17, and seeing him 6 months later. We're seeing even Tyreek Key, we're seeing his growth over the last 6 months and as our relationships change. Because frankly, why we coach is we coach basketball, but really we're coaching people that play basketball. And I use basketball as the vehicle to impact lives. And I use it as my competency in coaching to almost give them the ultimate pump fake of they think I'm talking about basketball, but really I'm talking about life, and I'm imparting life. I hope I'm imparting wisdom that goes well beyond just the basketball court. It goes on to the other facets of their life, because I know that's what the coaches I had growing up did for me.
And there are so many avenues to just see your basketball mind at work, not just your regular Twitter, but pickandpop.net that we talk about all the time. And I know it's a long story, but what got you to want to be able to create that, and also the ways that continue to evolve and keep your basketball mind fresh?
Yeah, it was, when I was a student manager at Fordham University, I knew no one in the realm of college coaching, but I knew I had this burning desire to get into college coaching. So I was, sending out hundreds of letters a week, trying to build relationships with college coaches, and I was going to every coaching clinic I could. And it's funny, we were down in Myrtle Beach 2 weeks ago. I remember in college, as a sophomore, I paid my own way to fly to Myrtle Beach, go to a coach's clinic, and stay in the dingiest hotel. So a hotel far, far, far away from the one that we stayed in.
It wasn't the Sheraton?
It was not the Sheraton.
Oh,
it was not the Sheraton that I was staying in. I was staying about 2 miles off the Strip, and the lights worked for one of the nights, I remember. But my point was, I was just a young kid, and I was just trying to get, in coaching the best way I could. And my dad instilled in me kind of this growth mindset early, and a love for reading. And so, frankly, I just said, hey, this is how I'm going to get into coaching. I'm going to work at it. I'm going to get better and better. And I found it as my way I was going to share that knowledge with others. And I worked for a great boss at the University of Maine, Bob Walsh, who really pushed me to grow. And that, it led me to starting a website, and leading me to starting, really cool thing with pickandpop.net that really led me to meet and coach, and led me to where I am today. And a part of it is just about giving back to the game and sharing it with others, because frankly, that's what I love to do. Is I love to talk ball and talk it with other coaches, talk with players.
Yes, you do. And if you want to find out more, like you just said, just go to all those different avenues to find out more about the passion that this guy has in ZB, the guy that we have grown to love here in Terre Haute. Let's get you out of here on this. I remember talking to you before playing Oklahoma, and you were like, man, one of the things I always appreciate about Coach Moser and his job is just how well prepared his teams are. Yeah. He obviously is not coaching this team, but he built this program. The differences in maybe some that you still see kind of Coach Moser's handprints on, but also what you respect most about what Coach Valentine has been able to do in a very short amount of time.
And I have nothing but, I've studied Coach Moser's loyal teams in the past, and I'm flipping them back on over the last week, and as we prepare for this game, I've been blown away with how Coach Valentine has really reestablished and really kept a lot of what they were doing, but also gave it a refreshing twist. So I've been nothing but impressed with the job that he's done. They're so sound schematically, they're so sound fundamentally on both sides of the ball, and really you're seeing players in their fourth and fifth year in a system, really intelligent, smart, tough, skilled players in the same system for year 4 and 5, and it's fun to watch. And as a coach, I can hold both in my mind, that I can say it's not going to be a lot of fun playing those guys at 7, but there's also part of you that says, you know what, it will be fun, because it will be a chance to to test ourselves against the best, and also as a coach to admire that, what they've built, the culture they've built there. And I'm excited to see Coach Valentine continue that, and I'm really excited to see them continue that in Atlantic 10. So,
And I know for you guys, when you got a really bad taste in your mouth, great opportunity to get that taste out of your mouth against a really good opponent on Wednesday.
Absolutely, chance for us to show some resiliency and pick ourselves up off the mat and go play a team that, we are capable of beating. So,
ZB, appreciate the time, not just tonight, but all the time. All of our chats on the road and, of course, in the office. Zach, thanks so much for your time, brother.
Thanks, Luke.
Once again, that was Zach Bovair. That does it for the Indiana State Coaches Show tonight. We appreciate it. We will be back next week for our last Coaches Show before we take off for the year and come back in January. So if you want to come out one more time, we'll be back here next Monday night here at the corner of Food and Fun. So for everybody who joined us on the show tonight, Chad Killinger, Clint Williams, Josh Schertz, and Zach Bovair, for Jim Osborne back in our DLC Media Center. The next time you can hear Indiana State Athletics right here on 105.5 The Legend will be basketball Wednesday night. the Patriot Investments. Countdown, the tip-off begins at 7 o'clock from Chicago, Illinois. This has been Indiana State Athletics on 105.5 The Legend.